Today's lesson is a culmination of all the previous rules that we've learned so far. So what we're going to do is start off by looking at all the different rules, because today we're going to combine different rules into one problem. So the first one was product rule. So if you have f times g and you're trying to take the derivative of it, remember that is take the derivative of the first part, multiply it to the second part, plus keep the first part, times the derivative of the second part. Quotient rule. If you've got f over g, trying to find the derivative of that. Remember, this is if there's variables on top and bottom. The pattern is derivative of the top times the bottom minus the bottom times, minus the top times the derivative of the bottom all over the bottom squared. And finally, we have the chain rule. So if you're trying to do chain rule, the derivative of that is derivative of the outside, keep the inside, times the derivative of the inside. Okay, so I wrote these down so we can refer back to them, because we're going to see multiple pieces in one problem. And we're going to jump right into it. So, first one, find the derivative of y equals 3x plus 3 to the fourth. And if I stopped right there, that would be chain rule. But we're also going to multiply that to 2x plus 5. So we made a chain piece. So this first initial one, you see we have a chain here. And then since we've multiplied them together, the whole thing becomes a product rule. Okay? So the way we're going to do this, there's a chain within a product rule. So we're going to go product first, and then we're going to have to introduce some chain into it in a little bit. Okay? So if you want to break it down a little bit more, this is f. So if we're looking at product rule, that's f, the first piece, and g, the second piece. So let's start applying product rule first. So the derivative. So product rule here. We've got f, we've got g. So let's look up at product rule. Alright, so derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second. So I'll write that down. My product is f prime g plus f g prime. Alright, so let's go piece by piece. Let's take the derivative of f. So derivative of f is this whole thing here. I need to take the derivative of that. But if I look at that, that's the chain. So in order to take the derivative of this part, I've got to use chain rule now. So now I've got to write down the rule for chain rule. So that's derivative of the outside, keep the inside, times derivative of the inside. So this time, now I've got to think about maybe g being inside here. So there's a g there, and then this is the g for later. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the chain rule on that first part. So we take this, we bring it forward, we keep the inside alone, 3x plus 3. I drop this down by 1, so it's to the third power. Okay, so that's the derivative of f using the chain rule, but we still need 2. So we've got f, we kept the inside, and now we need to take the derivative of the inside times the derivative of the inside would just be 3. Okay, so we've done chain rule. Chain rule's out. Let's move on. So we've done this part. Now we've got to multiply that by g. So now we're thinking about the product g. So multiply it by 2x plus 5. And I'm going to have to move this down because I'm about to run out of room, and I need a little bit more room for this. Okay, just because I wrote the rules over there. So So little check marks. I've done derivative of f. I've multiplied it by g plus regular f is just 3x plus 3 to the 4th power. Done. Derivative of g, the second part, just be a 2. So we've made a little bit of a mess of it. I can clean this up a little bit. Multiply some stuff out. So I'm going to multiply the 4 and the 3 because those are kind of loose terms out there. So we've got 12. Keep 3x plus 3 cubed. Those gone, those gone. Still multiplied by 2x plus 5. So we're not really asking you to multiply all this out, just enough so we're putting some like terms together and just keeping it clean. So that's okay for now. If you really want to, we can do this 12 times these ones, because anything with the exponent, we kind of just want to leave it how it is. So 12 times that second parentheses would be a 24x plus 60 times the 3x plus 3 cubed plus 2 times 3x plus 3 to the 4th. So either way, either one of these answers are okay. Alright, so this is okay, this is okay. Some are a little bit cleaner than others, so no, if it comes to some multiple choice questions, you might need to rearrange a little bit more. But the big thing is getting from this, using the rules, and then creating this initial answer here. Alright, so let's see if we can combine a couple more. So for example, let's try and take the derivative of y equals. So I'm going to tell you right now it's going to be a fraction. That means we're going to need to use quotient rule. On top, x plus 1 squared. Oh, look at that. Need some chain rule too. X plus 2 cubed, more chain rule on the bottom. Alright, so I know quotient is kind of like the bigger deal here, where the top is f, the bottom is g. Quotient rule, and we look back up here, quotient rule. F prime times g minus f times g prime over g squared. If you want to think about it as top and bottom, you can do that too. So quotient rule is going to be f prime times g minus f times g prime over g squared. So we can kind of set that up. Alright, let's set up this whole big thing. So let's go piece by piece. First one is take the derivative of the top. So here's the top. The problem is it's a chain rule already. So in order to do that, we got to use our chain rule, which means take this forward. So 2, x plus 1, this comes down by 1, and then we multiply it by the derivative of the inside, a 1. And that is all derivative of the top. I need to multiply it by the bottom. So I just keep the bottom how it is. X plus 2 cubed. Minus, so I'm on the minus sign now, minus the top, x plus 1 squared, times the derivative of the bottom. So the bottom also needs chain rule. 3 comes forward. Inside is x plus 2. This one comes down by 1, 2, multiplied by the derivative of the inside, a 1. So I actually need a little bit more room on my fraction, and there we go. So there's all the top. So if I want to break it down, if you really want to see it here, this part was f. This, sorry, that was f prime. This was g. This right here was f, and this, well, I went too far. This is f. This right here is g prime. And now what we're going to put on the bottom is g squared. So x plus 2 cubed, but the whole thing needs to be squared, and that thing down there is g squared. And You guessed it, we're going to clean this up as much as possible. All right, so we can multiply this in. The 1 really doesn't do anything to us, so we can get rid of those 1s. So I've got 2x plus 2 times, the next thing is x plus 2 cubed, minus, let's see what we can do there. Let's just go ahead and pull that 3 forward. 3, x plus 1 squared, x plus 2 squared, all over, and then this 2 and the 3 become a 6. We got x plus 2 to the 6. And there we go. All right, so we're using multiple rules in each of these to work out our derivatives. One last one for now. Y equals 3x squared, okay, not too bad, cosine 3x. All right, so I don't see it, but that's a multiply right there, so we do need product rule. And what's the other one? What's the other one? The other one is going to be, remember, invisible parentheses here, cosine of 3x, that's a chain. So we've got product rule and we've got a chain rule. So product's the bigger one here. So product, remember, is going to be f prime times g plus f times g prime, where in this case, this is f, this is g. All right, g is going to require some chain rule. So let's go ahead and get to it. So y prime, I might need a little bit more room, so I'll write a little lower, y prime. So derivative of f, taking the derivative of the first piece, multiply this to the front, so we get 6x, 1 lower, and that's it, times g. G is just cosine 3x, plus f, the first part, 3x squared, times the derivative of g. Now this is where it gets interesting because g is a chain rule. So let's go ahead and do that. We do the derivative of the outside of it. So cosine, remember this again multiplied, derivative of cosine is negative sine. I keep the 3x in there, and then I multiply it, so we're doing chain rule. Remember, see, this becomes the chain. We multiply it by the derivative of the inside, which is just 3. Clean it up. Not too bad, actually. So y prime equals, so let's keep it. We've got 6x cosine 3x plus, we can multiply the 3x squared and this 3 to make it 9x squared times negative sine 3x. And we don't like that negative sign just floating in there. We can bring it in front of the 9. So y prime is 6x cosine 3x negative 9x squared, and then positive sine 3x. And there we go for our answer on that one. So big thing today is make sure you know all your rules for the individual product, quotient, and chain, and then understand how we're putting these all together now to create these kind of combined problems.